Like how the Park Service Committee meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're on the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This is the approved agenda.
Almost, Peter.
By Peter,
Second.
by Councillor Elliott. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On my name, motion carried. Is there any errors or omissions or corrections to the minutes of November the 21st, 2022? Errors or omissions? Comments, any errors or omissions? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. Next on the agenda is a presentation from the Ship Hector Society. In front of us, there's some information on it, but it's not the presentation itself, so take that home again, read it over. So making the presentation here tonight is Ralph Hayden, Wes Surratt, and Vern Shays sitting in the back there. Looks like him. With some of these guys, we'll, it's about 15 minutes we'll allow you, and then after the presentation, we'll give you the chance for the council to ask any questions. Okay?
Great. Okay, thank you very much. As mentioned, my name is Ralph Hayden. I'm on the board of directors of the Ship Hector Society, and I'm also the co-chair for our capital charging the course campaign. With me is Wes Surratt. Wes is the chairman of the Ship Hector Society. And behind me is Vern Shay, and Vern Shay is our project manager and all around good guy for moving ahead with this monumental task that's ahead of us. So I first want to thank you very much for inviting us out here. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. We wanted to come out and speak with council to give you an update on our project and let you know what we've been up to the last year, basically, since I think it's been a few years since we've been here, but essentially the project really kicked off on the last year. So we really wanted to come out, give you an idea of what has happened in that past year, where we're going with the project, why we feel confident with the project, and we wanted to let you know exactly where we think we're going with it, and just to basically give you an update. I'm trying not to talk too much. I tend to ramble on a little bit, so I'll try to be abbreviated. So one of the things that was a big event for us when we started down this whole journey of sort of restoring the ship, it was pretty obvious to us that we needed to do something with the ship. Lots of comments, people driving by. The ship didn't look too great sitting there. So we realized that we had to do something with the ship, and we knew the ship is the key to the whole attraction, right? I mean, the key is the interpretive center is good, but we knew the ship is what people come to see. We know not everybody has a tall ship in their harbor, so it was really the key for us. So we started this journey back in around June 5th to be exact, 2020. And then we basically, I don't know if folks got to see the ship lift. We were able to bring a fairly large crane in, and we lifted the Hector out, put it on land, and thanks to Leo Cranes, who assisted us and were amazing with the way they could actually manage that whole thing. They just lifted it up like it was a feather, really. But so we lifted the ship out of the water. One of the things we found out that the ship was in very good shape below the waterline. We were quite surprised in how good shape it was. So once we got out of the water, and we do want to mention that we received support from the municipality over the last 3 years, and that money that we got from the municipality was the seed money that got us going down this road. So I thank you for that. Next slide. So over the last year, we were able to, as I said, get the ship out of the water and get a real good look at what was going on. Everybody knows that the rest of the vessel didn't look so good topside, but we knew that as well. But we were worried that the ship itself might not be very good down below. We were very pleased when we lifted it with the crane and it didn't basically fold in half. So that was a big point. So we got the ship out, we got it all set up, and we essentially looked at the hull. So we power washed all the hull and prepped everything, and it looked very good. So then we started the restoration process. So when we started on this restoration process, we had to make a decision on whether we were going to go sort of as traditional would be. Like there's a lot of sort of purists that say a wood ship has to be 100% wood, and you can't use anything other than that in it. But what we realized as a nonprofit organization, one, A, the ship is the most important thing, most important asset that we have. And B, as a nonprofit organization, we don't have the resources to put all the maintenance into the ship every year. So if you think of something like the Blue Nose comes out every year, it's scraped, it's painted, they have a whole crew. As a nonprofit, we couldn't do that, and we couldn't guarantee doing that. So we had to look at alternate materials. And that's where we sort of Vern gathered all the boat builders from around the province, and we had sort of a big conference and said, what can we do here with this ship to make it last longer? And then, of course, the natural answer was marry new materials with wood. Use fiberglass resins, use composite materials, and you can make the ship last for 50 years, 60 years. The maintenance, our maintenance costs will be reduced by this way by 60%. So it's a massive savings for us for the organization. But what we had to do was first we had to assess the ship and basically see what kind of shape everything was in. So these next few slides just give you an idea of some of the work that's been going on down there. We've scraped the ship, cleaned, splined all the decks and splined all the hull. And so what we're planning to do, next slide, please. So that gives you some of the shots that we've been working underneath. We've been reinforcing everything. You'll see in a couple of slides that we've put big carrying beams in, because one of the issues that we looked at for the ship was how do we make it a viable entity? How do we, because we know that as a nonprofit organization, we don't want to be back with our hats in our hands every time we turn around looking for money from government or various other organizations. So we said we have to do something better. So that was another reason why we opted for the fiberglass. So we don't have to do that. And we were rest assured from the boat building industry that we can make the ship look every bit as authentic as it did made totally out of wood. In fact, we talked to the captain of Blue Nose and other sailing vessels that said, you know what, there's so much going on between the sails and the ship and the water, nobody even knows it. And in fact, the Blue Nose itself has a lot of composite material in it. Most folks don't know that. So this is just a couple of shots of what we've been doing. We've been replanting. So as I said, above the water line, that we knew that was bad. So essentially we've been replanting, as you can see there, on both the ports and the starboard sides. And then the other thing that we were going to do, go ahead, I guess, Wes. This is shot on the inside. As I mentioned, one of the other plans to make the ship viable is our plan is that the ship is going to be moving. It's a movable attraction. So we're going to be able to take people out for sails. Now we're not going to be sailing it, around the Horn of Africa or anything like that, but we're definitely can take it for sails around the harbor, right into Northumberland Strait, or we can sail it to certain tall ships events if they're not too far away. The ship will be fully Coast Guard compliant when it's finished. All the navigation equipment will be on it. All the life-saving equipment will be on it. Vern, our project manager, has engaged Transport Canada right from the very start. They're reviewing all our drawings. They're reviewing all work to the boat. So when that boat goes back in the water and we have it fully completed, it'll be fully Transport Canada compliant and be able to move. And the plan right now is to install electric engines in the vessel. So it'll even be quieter than, say, a bunch of big diesels chugging along. We're doing that for two reasons, because it's new and innovative, and it's better for the environment. So as you can see, these beams that were now installed in the ship, they're basically there to support any kind of weight on the deck that might not have been there before. And the other thing we'll do is, the first time there was a couple decks that were left off the original one that we can put on there made of composite. So this is some of the stanchions, new stanchions, and new planking underneath. So we've been really busy since we started basically on the capital campaign since last September, roughly. So we've been able to, we're doing it a little bit differently. We're doing it, sometimes you raise a bunch of money and then you start the project. We really don't have time to do that because we really have our eye on 2023, which is the 250th anniversary of the ship Hector's arrivals. We really, really want to have that back in the water for 2023 of next year. It's not going to be fully rigged and all that, but we're going to have as much of it done and have it back in the water. So there's an example of just a couple shots of fiberglass in the deck. So what we're going to do on the deck, and as we said, we did our homework on this, and Vern was excellent in getting a lot of feedback from the different boat buildings experts around the province. And what we can do here is we can fiberglass the whole deck, or fiberglass the whole deck, and then what we'll do is we'll put a wood deck over top of that. So it'll look exactly like the other deck, but eventually the whole ship will be encased in fiberglass and therefore not grow. It'll be the same ship, but it'll be covered in fiberglass. So yeah, so that's just sort of what we've been working on the last year. You know, on the ship, like I said, we want to get 2023. So instead of raising all our money, we said we have to get this. We have to start while we're raising money. So we're raising money at the same time as we're moving towards getting the ship finished, just to meet that deadline. So it's going, you know, very good so far on our capital campaign. So I think Wes is going to touch on some of the other things that have been going on community-wise and so forth.
Good, thanks, Rob. First and foremost, I spent a lot of time with tourism and attracting people to this shore. And really, I mean, there's icons in this province, and the Northumberland Shore's icon is the ship Hector. I mean, that's really what the province leads with when it pulls tourists to this part of the world, and it is our icon. So that's why it's so crucially important. From tourism, and it does draw people all over this shore, right? It's not just in the town of Pictou. It's well beyond that too. So
It's a county asset.
So we, you know, during as many of you saw in the media during Fiona, if there was a silver lining at all, we had a lot of donations of wood. So we've got a lot of wood that was donated and burned, and the guys went around and picked up a lot from people's yards, and so there's going to be a lot of local wood and the interior for the most part in that ship. There's been great community support. The donations that have come in from corporate citizens and private citizens alike has been very encouraging. As you know, as we said, we're a board of volunteer directors, and we've been running this project with volunteers and running the site with volunteers for some time, and that's a big effort. So we're really hoping as this campaign takes off, and we're excited about things that announcement are coming really soon that'll allow us to really put a dedicated body to manage this project, because it's a big project. The ship's a big project, and the interpretive center, when that work starts, is going to be a big project too. So I think we'll be happy to announce soon a good dedicated body, but obviously the community support has been very encouraging for us. So you can see, as we've said, and any dollar invested in tourism returns you about $3.24 to the community. There's been 11 full-time jobs now created, and as Vern mentioned it to us in our last board meeting, we're starting to become known as the shipbuilding place in Nova Scotia, and we're starting to get inquiries from other wooden ships that maybe they'd like to come up here and get some work done in our port or on our site. So it might be an exciting potential for down the road, because there's not very many people doing wooden ships like this, and we've got 11 guys now 11 guys that are becoming professional wooden shipbuilders, and of course one contract shipwright position and one project manager, hopefully a good full-time project manager soon. So 6 summer students hired. You can see the stats there. Summer supervisors hired. 135% increase. As Ralph said, in 2020, when we lifted the boat out of the water, that was fresh into COVID days. We were saying, what the hell are we going to do here to raise money? Straight into COVID. Not many people were spending too much, but this past year, we really saw tourism come back. It came back as much as we could handle, and the bookings for next year are looking very positive. The buses that are coming in right now, the tour bookings are looking very positive. So we're pretty excited for.
One thing else I'll note that I should have probably noted right at the very end of the presentation, we've had over 100,000 views of the lift on our website. So you don't have to sit there for 8 hours, but we have a time lapse film of the whole lift of the ship, and we've had over 100,000 views of that.
So yeah, over 600,000 has been raised now in the community, including individual, corporate, and of course your support and the town's support. We're very appreciative of that. We've got a major funding announcement that's scheduled for early December, probably later December, and that will be. And we really see this major announcement that's coming is going to give us some really good momentum to go back out and harass those citizens again to get more money out of there, as long as we get out before that recession hits. So milestones for 22, 23, as Ralph had discussed, fiberglassing the decks in the fall of 22, work progressing on the ship components and fabrication well into 2024, planking the hall between, June and September. We cover the hall for glassing, the glass hall for spring of 2023. I won't go through all these details. If you ever want to, come down and visit the site and Vern will take you through, and it'll be a good 5-hour day for you. He's very well, great knowledge. And of course, there's the vinyl that we hope to see. Like we said, we'll be back in the water by the anniversary. A lot of great things planned for 2023, and there's a great calendar of events coming up soon. Not fully rigged, but we will be fully rigged soon. We don't have a last slide.
Yeah.
We'll have to make that one up.
We'll have to make the last one up. Yeah.
So, yeah,
No, we do have a major funding. We have a major, when we started this, we sort of went to various levels of government and primarily provincial and federal, and nobody was terribly interested in the ship itself, but for whatever reasons, people don't necessarily want to fund ships. But so we knew we had to go to the private sector. And so we have a large private sector donation coming after Christmas, as Wes said, the announcement will be, but the donation will be in the range of $1 million towards the campaign.
and we feel very positive from conversations we've had with the province and sometimes the feds that the interpretive center piece it was very important. It's very important to our major private donors too. I mean, the interpretive center is going to get a refresh, and the Indigenous piece that's going to be done there is going to be done correctly this time, and it'll be a very it's just going to be a major upgrade to the whole experience inside the interpretive center too. We're not here today to talk about the interpretive center. It's the ship that we're focused on, but know that the interpretive center is getting a major makeover as well, and with some, like I said, a good Indigenous piece in there too, as well as of course the Scottish heritage. So our request is this what our request is?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
That's the same.
So, yeah, so we're basically making the same request as we had previously of three, 100,000 over 3 years. We made the same request to the town a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I know last time it was very important, obviously, for this council to make sure that the town was in first as well too. And we'll follow that up with a formal request in writing. Just want to take the time also to thank Mary for her involvement on our, she sits through our monthly board meetings that can go long into the evening sometime. And we appreciate Mary's participation at the board meeting as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Les and Vernon, for your presentation. And just before we get going, our deadline for grant application is February 20th. You probably know that. So make sure you have it in by then.
For sure, yeah.
And grant review committee will look at it and present it to the councils.
Yeah, the materials that we distributed are sort of an overview of our projects and an overview of where we're taking everything. So it's not the same as our presentation. Should be informative. We hope that we kind of give you an idea of what we're up to, a little more than 10 minutes can do.
Okay, we'll have some questions. Councilor Gordon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. What I was going to mention was what you already did to make sure you have your paperwork all in before the deadline.
Great.
That's the most important thing, before the deadline.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay.
So, appreciate you coming tonight, and it's a very worthwhile project for Pictou County. It's the project. I'm sure we'll be able to help you.
Councilor Peel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for your presentation. It's just, this is exciting. I never knew all these details, and this is really exciting for the whole county. My question is, we've been having these, I know these talks have been going on, engagement sessions in the town of Pictou concerning the waterfront and Northwest Development with Nova Scotia. Are you able to elaborate on how that's going to affect, I guess, the interpretive center and everything that's happening with the Hector?
We've been part of those conversations. We were part of the waterfront development plan. We are the centerpiece of that plan. There were some adjustments in the conversations. If you look in details, waterfront plan, there is a walking path through the site. So like the site will be more open to the public and the residents, or you'll be able to boardwalk right through the site. To access the interpretive center or the ship will be at a fee, but it is much more, in that plan, it's much more open to the public. So we're working our way through that plan. We're pretty excited about it, obviously. One of our biggest challenges is going into 2023 is that the cost center and the marina are going to be under construction in our big anniversary year, right? So we're going to have to find a place to party somewhere nearby, but because we've got big plans with tattoos and everything upcoming in that, and we're starting to put together a plan, but not to go too far off. Yeah, we've been involved with the group. Heavily involved with lots of different meetings there, and we feel very good about it. We feel that we're, that our piece is the centerpiece of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a bit ahead of it, right? We're certainly, we see ourselves as kind of a cornerstone for the whole waterfront development, but we're moving ahead with our plans, and hopefully that will all catch up. I'm not sure what stage that's at, or the funding situation is for beautiful plan, like amazing looking changes down there, but we think we're kind of maybe leading the charge on that.
Okay, and if I could, Mr. Chair, I think that 2023 is going to be huge. There's going to be people coming from all over the world. It's going to be massive. I don't think, the general public realizes how actually big it's going to be. I'd say that there's a large contingent from Scotland coming, from what I understand, and a lot of descendants from ship actors, so it should be amazing. I guess my final question is, how much is this overall project worth, and how much more do you need to complete it? Like, where are you at financially with it all?
Well, we budgeted the ship. We kind of, as Wes said, we broke it into two. There's two projects on the go. One is the key, which is a different package of money, and then the charting courses for the ship. We budgeted it at 2.5 million for the ship, and we will be at about $1.6 million in the new year once we get the large corporate donation. So we're getting there. Obviously, that 2.5 was pre-COVID and some of the supply chain issues, but Vern is excellent at sort of moving things around to keep the funding in a reasonable place. So yeah, so we're about with that donation, and today we're getting it because we've been informed we are getting it. So we'll be about $1.6 million, I guess. So we're about $1 million away from the finish line, I guess, roughly.
Okay. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you both for coming in and updating us. I always have a great project, I still do. And there's a couple of things that express me, I guess, is the fact that you are already using things to make last a lot longer, and yet make it look aesthetic at the same time. So the climate, people want an authentic look for sure.
Yeah.
They don't really care what you get underneath. It's the authentic look. What should this look like when these people say look apart? The other thing I wanted to mention was using all of those trees. So the only trees, out of everything bad comes some good, and it'll be a memory for a long time. And to be able to say to people that this wood here actually came under Hurricane Fiona. The kids now in high school are going to remember Hurricane Fiona when they're outreach. So I think that's those are a couple things that I want to point out. I think are worth pointing out.
Credit goes to Vern on that one. That was totally Vern's idea he hatched that one.
It was such an obvious thing in a way, you sit right in front of your nose, and it doesn't get anything done with it sometimes, so thank you, Vern. You're probably a little bit realistic on the money end of things, I guess. We gave the 300,000 before, I guess it was, and we have a lot of asks every year, and they're getting higher every year. Last year, about 450,000 we had to give. We had over $1 million in asks. And a month ago, I think it was, that you over there was the Trails Association. We're in a really bad spot too. Yeah, with trees crossing all the trails, they're important to all the people in the county.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have pickleball groups and various things, I'm not trying to throw cold water, I'm just trying to be realistic that there are a lot of asks, and, I'm sure everybody around the table, you know, will do the best they can, and there's a committee of 6 of us that sit there trying to make these decisions, but the final decision, of course, is back to your council, but, just, you want to be realistic and realize that there are a lot of asks. Not to take away from your project, that, or exactly everybody's project, but, I just wanted to say that so that you are, you know, realize the decision that we're in. We're not trying to go taxpayers, tax rate up for sure. We're trying to be reasonable with that too.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, I just wanted to put that in there. Just to be realistic.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to consider it.
And we've heard that on the private end too. I mean, there's a lot of worthwhile causes out there that are worth, you know, worthy donating, you know, people's lives are and everything else, but like we've always said, we believe there's return on this investment. This investment will provide return as tourism typically does. It, you know, tourism dollars and tax dollars generated by tourism pays for healthcare and education and all those other things. So I appreciate your comment, shortly, Frank.
Councilor Dave Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming and updating us on this project. Like most are aware that it's ongoing. I do have a query. So you want to put fiberglass on the hull? Inside or outside?
It's mostly on the, what we'll end up doing, the hull itself. We took all the caulking out that we originally put in and we splined with pine in between the seams and fiberglass that all in. Now, the total exterior of the hull will totally be encapsulated in fiberglass.
So it will be smooth looking.
No, but we're investigating techniques now. We're going to put wooden wales on it, which are thicker pieces of wood initially that stuck out from the hull. They'll be going back on only in 1-inch thick pieces to give the look that it's thicker wood. And then the wood or the fiberglass itself, we're going to texture it so it looks like planking. We don't have to do anything below the water line because nobody can see it. And on the interior of the ship, the deck itself, like Ralph alluded to, is completely fiberglass now, and it's holding water great, which is good. So nothing's getting back down below the ship. And then when we put the composite material on the top sides, which was the really, really bad portion of the ship before that, and the stanchions, that'll all be tabbed in and fiberglassed on the inside. Then again, either with a comb or a texture in the fiberglass will make that all look like
More authentic.
wood, and the deck itself will have a wood overlay of Douglas fir so that you're actually standing on a wooden deck over fiberglass. So
The ship that was here during the tall ships.
Yeah.
that was the El Galleon. She was totally fiberglass. That one that looked like a pirate ship that was here in 2017. She was totally fiberglass, and most people, and the highlights were wood, as will ours be. But when you're standing on the vessel, you'll think you are on a wooden ship. It'll feel like you're on a wooden ship. All the rigging will be authentic. And with the additional decks that go on the vessel, they'll all be sheathed in wood over composite. And we have areas set aside for that the public can't get to, where your ventilation fans will be, your winch to haul up your anchor, and all your components of the ship. Your vents for your tanks, your fill pipes and everything will be all hidden away so that the public won't even see that. Oh, it'll look exactly like 1773.
This is electrified too. When you're sailing, it will make no sound underneath, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
It's
Electric motors, and that way you'll have the authentic feel, because it's square rig, you can only sail one way. So in order to maintain schedules, we had to come up with a propulsion system. We didn't want to go diesel because of what's happening in the world with global warming, and we figured this was the best way to go for green, plus give everybody the experience when they're on the ship. They won't be hearing diesel engines running because the electric motors are just whisper quiet. They only have one moving part. So you will have that experience that you are sailing. And I put some things in the ship so that the passengers can move windlasses and stuff and help move the lines around and stuff like that. So they'll get a really good experience.
My brother did a reasonably good job of explaining our budget predicament, which is a permanent one. And you people had an estimate of 2.5 million, not 3 years ago. I hope it's still accurate, but I judge it is. And we're getting there. And you're asking us for some. What contributions have you got from the provincial government?
Well, at this point towards the ship, as Wes said, we've got 2 projects going. We haven't received any money from the provincial government towards the ship at this time so far. The key project is moving, and we're hopeful that we'll get money from the province to do with that project. They seem more interested in doing buildings and museums and that kind of stuff. So that's why we went to the sort of the private sector for the ship, because that way it removes the government or the provincial government from the ship. We agreed, okay, we'll tackle that on our own. But we're confident we're going to get some help with the renovations to the quay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Wallace.
Thanks very much for coming. Mine's just a quick question. You were saying you're going to be moving the Travis ship once you get her up and going. How many people would it take to, to sail her once she's up and going?
I've been in contact with Mr. Mike Freeman. We had him up when we originally started the rigging on Hector. He's ex-Royal Navy, master rigger. He sailed tall ships for most of his life. Very, very knowledgeable in that. And I've been in discussion with him, and we're going to arrange it. So hopefully we'll get probably through with about 9 crew members in total. I say professionals. They will be after a few years. And what we're hoping is that through sail training programs, we'll be bringing in the Sea Cadets, and we'll be bringing in students to do sail training. Or if you yourself would like to go for a sail, you can be captain for a day.
For a low price.
For a very reasonable amount of money. And, that also supports the funding of the ship, but we're looking at 9, and what we're going to do, and I've been talking to Mike, we're really going to simplify the rig so that it can mostly all be handled from the deck and with minimal people. Like, we don't want people climbing up and down the rigging all the time. We'll do that for show purposes, but mostly we want to be able to handle it from the deck. So we're looking at 9 right now. That'll give us a captain, a first mate. We don't need an engineer because we don't have the horsepower, but we do want somebody that's mechanically natured or inclined to come on board. And then 16. So we should be good with that.
3 bartenders after that.
3 bartenders. Yeah.
And the plane figure for work with the boat for 5 minutes, 1 cap, and they can walk the plane.
We'll take you folks out on one of our first tours.
We can.
Yes. I'd like to thank you gentlemen for coming. I got a couple of little questions myself.
Yeah.
It's a huge project, and congratulations to you and your committee and your workers for having the dedication to bring this forth. It's great to see the private sector step up on something like this, and it's hard to believe. West, tourism, they're throwing money at tourism left, right, and center now. It's funny that they wouldn't see that as part of tourism for Fifth County. It's huge, right? So it's just too bad that they wouldn't recognize that and fund some of this project. You're saying you're going toward the harbor. Just, are you looking at mid-May to the end of September, or is that somewhere?
Yeah, I think we looked at our season probably realistically is May to September.
Yeah.
If you get a nice fall, then maybe you get October in there too, but we're kind of planning for that sort of season, that active season. Because we get lots of tour buses and so forth right into September and early October, and of course the cruise ships come in. So yeah, that would be sort of our window of our season, I guess.
So the 2023, you're probably not gonna have the sails ready. Right? So you're just gonna run the electric motors and.
In 2023, we'll have it back in the water.
Yeah.
And then through the winter of 2023 into 2024, that's when most of the rigging and the deck components and all those piping arrangements all start to come together during that. And probably mostly into 2024 towards the latter part of the season. We'll be doing a lot of trials on some boat, right? Getting all the systems working properly because we're going to put in sewage treatment plant in the vessel. We want this vessel to be environmentally friendly in every way so that nothing goes into the harbor unless it's treated, and we can't dump anything as long as we're a mile from shore anyway. So a lot of these systems that we're putting into the vessel and a lot of this stuff that we're working, especially with the wood from Fiona, we want to get that in the proper place in the vessel as well. So it'll probably be early 2025 when we actually start taking tours on the vessel, and that'll give us 2 years to start booking buses, corporate sponsorship, sales, and stuff like that.
It would be a very, very unique experience and iconic offering. And I think the province appreciates that. We had the full Monty of the Tourism Nova Scotia staff on a call just 2 weeks ago talking about 2023. Although, like you said, I think there's going to be a capacity issue here, especially when one of the biggest accommodation providers is down about 30% of their inventory. But I have faith that the province is going to be there on this project. I feel good about that. There's been a lot of positive conversations, and I echo your sentiment, but I feel positive that they're going to be there.
That's good.
And I would just add a point on the fundraising campaign. Myself and Jerry Pettifar are sort of the members of the board on the co-chair, but we really couldn't have got this far without John Oliver and especially Dave Sobey, who agreed to take this project on, and you know, we wouldn't be getting where we're getting without the help of those gentlemen, that's for sure. So
That's good.
yeah, they really stepped up. And
One other quick question, and what would be your capacity for doing tours of the harbor for you?
We're doing 65. I'm getting it certified for 65 people. If we look into it as we get closer, we have the capacity to go higher because the regulations don't change after 50. Between 50 and 100, it's exactly the same. But we looked at 65 because they'll be able to accommodate bus tours. Number one, a full bus tour, and number two, that'll allow us at least 15 walk-ons. So that are with the bus tour, so that we have that capacity any day, that we can bring in additional people, or that option, that additional people will be able to sail on the vessel. It'll be 2 sailings a day, and in all weather, we have to sail it every day. We have the advantage over Blue Nose or Bulwarks are only about that high. We're scared people will fall over. We don't have that problem on Hector. We brush them in oilskins and away we go. And we don't have the fog that they head down and Southwest Nova or the South Shore. So we hope to have a really full sailing schedule.
we really see that as the key, I guess, from a business point of view. We really see that as the key for the site to become self-sustaining. Is that we really think that that's going to generate the revenue that we can keep the thing going year after year after year, because our attendance is very good now. And then if we add a ship that you can go for a sail on, you know, we really think that that's going to put us in a place where, you know, we don't necessarily have to worry about where the operating money comes for the site. We can generate it right on site. That's our goal anyways. That's what we're hoping to achieve.
If I might add one other point, part of the whole interpretation center project that we're looking at with the revised displays, and we're going to upgrade the elevator and accessibility to the whole site. Part of that component, which I think the province is interested in, or really interested in, is we're also putting in a boat building school where we'll be able to bring people in and start learning these skills, because I find it very hard getting people to know what's going on to work on the ship. And we're all getting older, the ones of us that do know wooden shipbuilding. And so that's really going to be an asset. That'll be quite a large facility on the ship. That'll be revenue generating. And we're going to, again, do corporate sponsor at-risk youth. We're going to tie in with the school, vocational school and the high schools to bring these kids in and see what's going on. Plus, if people want to go down and do a workshop on the weekend and bring their family down to build a canoe or kayak or anything like that, that opportunity is going to be there.
Thanks again for coming, and I said February 28th is our deadline for applications. And we usually know it's budget time, but probably May before if we would go. I'm not sure.
Again, we appreciate taking the time to let us come in and speak to you and wish you all the best for the holidays.
Thank you.
Thanks for the truth.
Yeah.
Second clause.
Make your presentation before you go.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, guess we'll move on here. Next on the agenda is reports. The first one is the building inspector's report. By Councilman Teeling, second by Councilman Miller. Questions? Ward Park.
Not so much aggression, I think it's here in the government. I've been very hard work for the advocate on these end of the year, or next year for council. So the thing I talked about the most was the amount of construction activity in this municipality over the last year or 2 years. Just tremendous figures. They were looking at 55 million at this point. So we'll probably hit 75 million for the fiscal year. And there's, I think, close to 5 million. And it seems spread around pretty good, between the different districts. And I will remark that the $500,000 in agriculture, my district 6. It's not very often we get much agriculture construction anymore, so it's good to see, the $500,000 put into agriculture. Usually it's on home building, or commercial. So I think we're doing very well when it comes to, that helps us too with our tax bills, of course, but that must increase assessment to the bills. Thank you.
Councilor Laper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One error that I noticed when I went through it, there's nothing in District 7, but the very second item on the list, Councilor Butler trying to steal my thunder. 599 Mountain Road is definitely in District 7.
Councilor Butler annexed that part of your district. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, Councilor.
We'll get that straightened up here. Thank you, Councilor Burke. Okay. So the motion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count my name. Motion carried. Next is the bylaw dog control officer's report. So moved by Deputy Warden Burke. Second, Councilor Elliott. Questions? Seeing any? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count my name. Motion carried. Next is the development officer's report. Moved by Councilor Butler. Second by Gordon Parker. No questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count my name. Motion carried. Next is the Pitt County Solid Waste Voucher Summary for 2022. It's a good program, and I think our residents are very happy with it. You know, the ones that I speak with, at least this will keep it out of the illegal dump sites and things like that to most parts, so. But, for a small cost, I think it's well worth investment, so. Board Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 10,000 above the total number of landfill vouchers issued. So do we have it with, I'm not sure what the numbers mean, is there a count? Count here, how many returned back in? Out of 6,246, if that's what was issued for half of them, they all turned back in, or is there, can you tell how many turned in under the ones that were taken out? No, one of mine's still sitting in the truck, so I know it's one of us.
No, and
Just wondering how many people.
there are people that get them and then use something, we use one tool and then.
Forget about them, I just wondered if we had any count on them.
Also, Mr. Chairman, this is only the cost of the ticket fees, not the total cost.
What? The difference, you know, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Thompson.
On that, what else is there left to add to that? Other than the ticket fees. Elements of this.
Staff time,
Okay. So
postage. Cost of paper and other things.
People dropping in and picking up things up, so.
So I got two questions. Do we need a motion to approve this tonight's for information?
Just for information.
What was the budget figure we had for it? Do we have a budget figure? Established that.
We only have the ticket fees.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Amy? Next, we'll move on to solar regulations. Councilor Turner, you awake there? Right?
Yeah, I'm awake. Yeah, you guys are keeping me up. I went through the documentation that were sent to us and I couldn't find it. I'll read it if I could find it. Where particularly is it, Brian?
Didn't have anything on it. It was just something you would ask to add last month. So there was no documentation.
Solo regulations?
Yeah, you had said somebody had asked you a question about them. Who should be?
Oh,
something.
of course. Yeah, now, okay, now you jogged my memory out. I had a request from a constituent wanting to know about regulation in terms of solar panels, in terms of, I guess, the construction of the solar panels, and if there's any particular codes that have to be adhered to, and whether the municipality is in a position to help regulate the installation of solar panels. And I guess it came from Fiona, and I think we had a conversation with Warden Parker had a conversation with some people about this as well. And it's about after Fiona, there was a number of solar panels that were considerably damaged, and they were damaged simply because they weren't constructed properly. So the people that I've talked to were wondering whether or not the municipality is in the business of regulating some type of construction code for solar panels. And he wanted me to bring that forward to council. So it's just up for discussion.
At present, we don't. I'm not sure we actually have the authority to do it, unless it's on the house, like it would be, if that fell under building code as a structural change. It could,
That's fine. That's fine.
it could require a permit there if it was classified as a structural.
Yeah.
It could require a permit in inspection. Ground mount would be no, it would probably be something that you could do under the minimum planning, right? Similar to wind, you could maybe have setback regulations or limits on it, but right now, there's nothing on ground for sure.
The ones that were damaged were freestanding. They weren't attached to the home, so the question was asked whether, we could do something about it, so. Okay, that's all.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
It doesn't pertain to this gentleman's situation, but my experience installing solar at community centers, dealt with the installer and Nova Scotia Power inspector. That's for roof mounted systems. I'm sure it's the same with ground mounted systems. So.
Okay, Jim Burke.
Mr. Chair, after Fiona, as Councilor Turner referred to, most of the damage didn't come from the roof mount ones that came from those mounted to the ground. And perhaps somewhere there needs to be some type of regulation who should be doing it. I don't know, but people are getting taken because they don't realize they're being told, they're quickly mounting them, they're secure and everything, But I think a lot of them are only up to 100 kilometers an hour wind. We were well over that. The only probably 150 is what he said. So I think part of it's the responsibility of the buyer to make sure that what they're buying is able to withstand the winds that we're having now, not the winds we used to have. But there probably is room for somebody to regulate this to some degree because people are getting taken. They're trusting the people, the companies that they're dealing with to tell them the truth. They probably were, if they told them 100 kilometers, that probably was the truth. But I know that some companies out there, I heard now that they're installing, they're good for 300 kilometers an hour. Well, that's what the saying is good for anyway, because they are not, but, when a person comes to the house, we're very particular about, how it's done, it's going to be up to standards, so that it was going to last and not let somebody down. So I think it's something that is going to have to be looked at by somebody, in order to protect the residents who are being told that these things are good for a certain amount of wind. But I don't think it falls maybe under our dealing with right now. But I think it's something that somebody needs to look at in the future. I was thinking one time going to put in the ground mount ones because my roof doesn't really face the right way. If I was going to do it, but after some of the damage they saw on some of the, the lack of people standing behind it, perhaps there's going to have to be at some point somebody's going to have to move in and regulate these. Thank you.
Councilor Davis.
Yeah, I guess I'd say the same thing. Most of them go on roofs. And the systems we're looking at subsidizing, I think, primarily go on roofs. It's the only downside of that is roof better be in good shape because they have to come off there to kind of replace your roof. The ground mount ones, again, Nova Scotia Power is involved in basically every stage, unless they're not selling to the grid, not putting in the grid. That's one area where it's quite literally buyer beware. Forewarned is forearmed. Somebody won't be aware that there was significant damage to ground mounted systems in Hurricane Fiona. Yeah, that might be once in a 20-year event. The next one might be next year too. So we don't know. So I agree with my brother. There does need to be regulation here. Code. We don't call it electrical code on anything you do in a house or buildings. Always being upgraded. So why wouldn't they upgrade this? It's more structural engineering than just electrical. But I heard a story this morning. I don't know if you're not, but we visited. Somebody called us all and said, "Look, your solar panels are smoking." Look, they were on fire. Smoking. So they were, I believe, they were ground mounted. But yeah, there needs to be there needs to be regulation on these, both on the electrical side, which I'm quite sure there is, and on the structural side. Thank you.
I think the regulations got to come from the province. It's going to come from anybody. I don't.
Or the
feds. Or the feds, but I don't think the municipalities can make it a separate, building code for these things, because next thing you know, we'll be on the hook for their inspector. Councilor Bowles.
I was talking to the same gentleman, Council Turner was talking to, and I think probably a lot of the councils trying to what to do, but when I was down at the NSFM, I talked to Michael and asked him. He was telling me that when it comes to the house or anything having on, there's engineered design that has to be followed for that for them to do that. But he said, as far as the ground mountains, he said that that's nothing to do with them at all, and he can't see it ever being the building inspector. As to say, that's what he told me then.
No, and I don't know if you can get insurance for the ground down ones or not, so. It's an investment and it's a risk, so it's based on nature, I guess. You gotta be very careful. You could regulate to a certain thing, next thing you know, we have a major storm again, and wipe it out again, so. Anyway, we'll move on. Next is the Glen Road presentation discussions. We'll have to wait for the board to come back.
Or go to the bathroom.
Well, that's very, Darla, Debbie, feel it.
So I'll move on to the next one. Hurricane Fiona storm restoration update.
Thank you very much. Very happy to announce tonight that we're completed our collection. We've driven on 100% of the roads that we identified for collection, as well as returning back to some of the addresses we missed. That was all finished as of today. So our collection began on October 28th, which is today, which is the 19th of December. Crews worked usually around 6 days a week, depending on the weather, resulting in around 45 days of work. We had 7 contractors working. This equipment included 4 gravel trucks, 2 chippers with the trucks to haul them, 2 front-end loaders, 1 gravel truck, 1 log gravel truck, and 2 dump trucks, as well as traffic control in-house here with the MOPC staff, Provincial Department of Public Works, and we did contract Safety First traffic control services for our busier sections of roads. We traveled and collected from well over 300 roads, and we received more than 1,000 requests. Of the original budget, we project to have spent around 56% of this budget to date. And I'd be happy to take any questions or comments on our collection.
Okay. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Evan on the great job he did. The people working with you, there's a lot of great things come out of this. People I was talking to them, fives, they wouldn't know what they would have done if we didn't do that. So thank you very much. But I had one complaint of one resident, and it's just for the future. And they'd like to say that in the future, the safety part of it, they were concerned about is that we didn't have the safety people doing stopping and starting or whatever on the roadways. And certainly on connector roads like 376, that's a very busy road. And I think personally south, roads that are busy like that, and they should have had an overlap, but the roads and the department told us to, but maybe we should have on busy roads and back roads, certainly. So I think that's something that we should note for if there is the next time. The other one issue was the 3 altogether was correspondence with one of the Evan or staff or somebody was going to a household to talk to them about an issue. They didn't seem that they had a follow up on it, and I think that should be followed up by a phone call or a visit if they're looking at something, it should get back to them. And the third one was on our webpage to make sure that people understand what a chipper is. this person thought a chipper was one that was hand fit, out of raffle fit. So they were kind of concerned that big truck was coming and picking stuff up out of the ditch, and they thought it was gonna be some of their little ones that hand fit. So I don't know if we could put on the industrial chippers, whatever, but I can understand when people don't quite understand the logics of things like that. And I don't know, but that was the 3 complaints that we should take note of, and maybe next time we correct it. Other than that, everything was perfect. Thank you.
Council Bell.
Mr. Chair, I'm wondering, do we have any updates in regards to our application for federal funding?
No, we have not submitted it. We have to finish first. And then submit. So it's now that we're at the end, we can go after the federal funding.
Okay, Council Door.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo what the deputy warden said. Any of the phone calls I had were all positive, and I was getting worried that there'd be nobody left when we got to District 12, but everything looked good. That's good. I appreciate that. I appreciate the report every day. That was a good. Thank you.
Warden.
And Mr. Chair, and I like to again what the deputy warden said, you know, 98% is always going to be some hiccups. At 98%, I only heard one road where some people were around with too much stuff was left on the side of the road or something, but we're going to get some complaints anyway. What I'm really pleased with is that we got it done. We got it done before the weather, you know, we got some cooperation from the weather for sure, but you know, we told people that we would try very hard to get it done. That was the one thing after Fiona that, you know, we really couldn't do much on the food end of things, couldn't do much on other things. And the province was trying to look after people in those particular areas, but this was the one thing that we said as a county that we would try and do for them. I think most people would say 99% are very appreciative of the fact that it did get done. And we'll learn a little bit. I think take some notes as the deputy warden mentioned there, and you know, maybe another time we wouldn't need necessarily approval of Bureau, maybe we could line up some people ahead of time and know that we have some people ready to go. Because on very short notice, we had to, you know, try to find people to get going, and as we went along, the crew seemed to build up some, but I agree with Councilor Dewar in a way you wondered, are we going to get there on these other roads, and but it seemed to move along much quicker. You have to, a lot of the roads, and indeed along the coastal area, but a lot of small roads that were hard to get up and down, and it moved much quicker, I think. So, no, great job, I think. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lee Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I certainly want to echo, I want to congratulate them, and I think the job was well done. I particularly appreciate the fact that every morning I see a report. I knew where they were. I knew what progress they were making. Certainly the areas along the shore received much heavier damage, took much longer to clean up. There's also a lot more small lanes there. But I think the native points in my district, relatively few that were in my district, but the ones that were there were well cleaned up. Didn't see any damage. Shoulder of the road or the lawn, and it's all done. So a job well done all around, and also particularly pleased that so far we're only up to 56% of our budget. I was nice coming down. We know it's a wild guess, and it's not cheap. Now, we have now set a precedent, however. The next time the wind blows and there's a little bit of damage, we're going to start getting phone calls when they come to clean migration. I think we need to spend some effort communicating through our website that this is a one-time only event. That we do not have a public works crew to clean up brush. That will not be considered for other wind events unless they're severe like this one. Have to sort of nip it in the bud, and they're all going to want, you know, I got 4 piles of brush to put out in my driveway. When are you going to get them? I'm not in that business. Okay, but it was a job well done. We need to think about how we forearm ourselves the next time. And I'm talking about a smaller event, because some people will want it. Well, you can't hear, you know, they do it in town, it's first their event. Second area is gonna be, and you did it last fall or 2 falls ago, so when you come to get my breath. Not doing that. Yeah, we do have to plan for that, thank you.
Councilor.
Again, thank you, Evan, for the work you did and then the updates and so forth. And just I have to disagree a little bit with Councillor Parker. I think the people in my area who were heavily hit and damaged badly by Hurricane Fiona will want to get town involved, but I did certainly appreciate what this council did to help them get through the horrible missteps in the So again, thank you for that.
Councilor Makita.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to also say the same thing. District 3, as everybody saw with the reports that we received every day, which was awesome. Thank you. Your communication was fabulous. Was hit very hard, and I will say that the residents are very appreciative of having this service being offered to them because many homeowners did not know what to do. And especially with winter coming and everything else. It was a huge undertaking, and I think it was a huge success. And of course, there's always going to be, you know, issues that arise and things we can learn from, and that's, you know, never a bad thing. But I just like to say, job well done, congratulations. So, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. But no, it was great, and I realize the contractors get paid for doing this, but I think you should pass along a huge thank you from council and that. Because I know it's hard to find people and things like that. And very fortunate to get some local contractors come in and help us, and I like the same things Councilor Parker said, coming in under budget. That's A1. So I pass that on to the contractors and yourself. You did an excellent job. We appreciate you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just to add to that really quick too, I know our communications officer, Suzanne, is working on some posters and different literature on the contractors and the work that was done. So hopefully that does go back to them as well as a thank you, and I'll certainly pass it along. So I know they'll appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Okay, next we're going back since Warden's out. Glen Road presentation discussion. Warden Park.
Mr. Chair. So everybody heard the presentation last month from Fred Rutnick. Just his name, I forget the name of the other gentleman here with him. I had it written down somewhere, but I don't have it with me. But anyway, Fred Rutnick did most of the talking. And his request was obviously that road not be used for those large trucks. And I can see where he's coming from. There was a tremendous number of trucks on that road. I don't know how many weeks or months, whatever, but for a lot of the summer anyway, it made their life almost unlivable as you're on the road. Not just the danger of traveling on it, but the dust coming. They couldn't even possibly keep ahead of the dust. The dust on their vehicles, their clotheslines, the kids' play area, everything was just coated with dust. So it comes down to his request is that road be closed to those heavy trucks, or that concentration of them anyway. And I had the same problem, although not as severe as what they had, because the type of road they were putting on our road. It was mostly safety of bicyclists and walkers and stuff. But then I realized that yes, the trucks have to get beat somehow. That has to be done. Our roads need to be fixed, and the product has to be moved. So most of the product that we're talking about on the western side of the county here, anyway, is on the top of Mount Don. It has to move from there to wherever it has to go. In this case, I think much of it was actually Colchester County, and he was suggesting some other routes. Problem with that, of course, is that the people on the other roads aren't happy either. But this particular road, Glen Road, it's actually not, I don't know if any of it's in my district, I believe the Brooklyn Road is, but mostly in Mary's district when you get out to the West Branch anyway, in Diamond, where it's going to go toward West Branch. But that piece, before it hits the piece heading toward West Branch it is a stagecoach road, and they're fine with the road the way it is. You know, as long as they don't have big trucks on it, they're not asking somebody to come in and build it up like they did the Brooklyn Road to a very high standard. But, which would be kind of a waste of money to do with that. You may not have those big trucks traveling there again, but I think we're gonna have from time to time the same problem on different roads, depending on where the work's getting done. So you can either take the point of view, I guess, that, well, all roads should be good to travel on, no matter where they are in the county. They have to go on them, and then it's up to the contractor to choose the road. If I take a different point of view, that it should be, there should be input, you know, on the safety side and on the resident side or whatever. There needs to be some input as to what roads are used to get products to A to B. And then let the construction companies be it equally, knowing these are the roads that have to be used, but at least it wouldn't, you know, obviously if you're a construction company, you're gonna pick the shortest way to be. You know, that's where you're, in order to get your bid as low as you can, you're gonna take the shortest way, but if it was determined ahead of time that this is the road that you have to follow, everybody is going to be bidding on the same distance for those trucks to travel. But otherwise, we are going to have them taking roads that pretty unfit. I don't think there's too many people say that road was fit for those big trucks to travel on all summer. They traveled on it. They put some people off the road that sounded luckily nobody was killed, but you know, someday when that happens, I'm sure it will change in a hurry. But that particular road, and there's probably some others around the county like it, just should be ruled out in terms of traveling and perhaps go, you know, look at what's safe and what's, you know, protecting residents. So I guess what I would like to see us do with all of this, we probably look at it and decide what we're going to do or what we could do. It's not in our bailiwick. It's really a provincial thing, you know, when it comes right down to it. But I'll make a motion just to see what there's any support out there or not. I would make a motion that we write a letter to the Minister of Transportation, Public Works. Minister of Public Works, requesting, first of all, that Baker Road and Glen Road be taken off of the list for heavy trucks to travel on. And for those heavy trucks that are on those big belly dumps is what they are. And that we review the system of deciding what roads that these trucks travel on, so that there's some input, you know, considering safety and considering people's lives, rather than let the contractor decide. So maybe that should be two separate motions, I think. Because I'll make a motion first that we petition the Department of Public Works to close the Glen Road to the heavy belly dump trucks, probably their name was. And well, if the motion passes, then we could send copies to our MLA and our other interested people. I'll put that in there as a motion, see if we get a seconder and see where we go with it.
So,
when Fred Rutledge was in here and he spoke, he said it was a difference of 4 kilometers. And for the sake of the health of the people with everything they've come through and the danger that anyone traveling that road's in, I'll support that motion. But I received, and I'm not going to exaggerate, probably 60 phone calls over this problem or the issue that's going on that road. And anybody who traveled that road is taking their life right in their own hands, meeting someone. I don't know how many turns are on that road. It's probably over 20 some. And it's one-sided to begin with. And then meeting something, it just to meet a small car is enough. But to meet a dump truck, I don't know how they come through even traveling on the road. Those people, like he pointed out, that the MLA secretary came out and she was scared to travel the road to get back. Like that's how bad it was. So I do support the motion. seeing if we can get some support just to have that road removed for that reason, because of the danger of it.
Your second motion.
Yes, I am.
Smooth second. Any other questions, no? So Dave Parker.
I think the very, very end of the Glen Road is in my district. And all the rest of the district. But I am very familiar with the road. I used to travel a lot years ago. It's a dog fast, dog around the end of Dalhousie Mountain, so it is. It's not fit for heavy truck traffic. They're right, never was. Yeah, I support the motion and that maybe it's time to say, rather than just leaving it wide open to the contractor, say, here's the quantity of gravel we expect to have hauled, and here's the road you must haul on. I don't think that's not a reasonable request. The Brooklyn Road, and you're right, whoever's ox is getting gored, are the ones that are going to complain. Whereas the Brooklyn Road has been heavily built up, it's a gravel road. Extends from, more or less from the pits there, Mount Tom, all the way through, I guess it's 4 Mile Brook. And it's somewhat paved from there to Scottsburg. Might be slightly longer, 4 kilometers could be correct. But everyone's been on the same level. But that road has clearly been prepared for heavy truck traffic, whereas the Glen Road does not. And it costs a great deal of money to bring the Glen Road up to the standards that the Brooklyn Road is too. Just back to back anytime soon. So I do support the motion, and but I'm sure we will hear this issue other times from other places. Thank you.
Yeah. Any seeing nothing further, I'll just comment on that. I won't be able to support this motion, and the reason being that the province doubled their budget for gravel roads, and those trucks were heading to either River John area or Tavish area, and that was the shortest route to go. And if you tell the contractors, like, you think that it's black and white, that you can't use this road, so you have to use that road. But the pits aren't in the same location. The pits are, one's here and one's there. If there's a road here, then you're telling the other contractor, you have to go over here, use that road, then it's unfair. It's an unfair bid such, because the bulk of their bid will be based on truck hauls, right? So you're telling Weeks, so let's say Weeks, as they're heading out on, Dexter has theirs in Kemptown. You're telling them that they have to move further, Weeks have to go further towards Kemptown. That could put them out of bidding, so you're, it's not a fair way of doing things, right? So, and if you allow this for this road, I know many more. Like the warden says, well, 376, it's a route highway. It's the second, the third class highway in the tiers. You get sort of 100 series, then you get your trucks, then you get your routes. So out in my areas, it's local roads, and we have truck traffic coming from Weeks. When they were building the twin highway, we were having between 500 and 800 trucks a day on the roads. And, you know, you want the roads, but then you say, well, we don't want you traveling minor. I know it's short term, it's trucks are hauling and then for about 3 months and then they'll stop, or even shorter than that. It's the only way that trucks can get to that. It's not the only way, but it's a fair way to get them. So I think if we start saying shut down this road, then we'll have more groups here saying, let's shut down this road, that one. So that's why Councilor Elliott.
There's a lot of reasons to have trails rerouted, and it's not an issue of the noise or mainly even the dust. It's people's lives are at risk. There's a big difference here. And I think if the reasons stated of why the trucks should be traveling the road, I think there's a big difference between not wanting them and putting people's lives at risk. Just saying that, I want to have that out there. They don't mind the trucks. If the road was twice as wide as it is, and no one's life was in danger, it wouldn't be an issue at all.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a small business owner in my area, owns a rock quarry or a pit out there. Where's he fit in? They shut that off, that no trucks that we can't get to us. Take them out of this pit. That's the concern I would have. There's no trucks allowed on the road at all. How's he going to access the gravel?
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. This happens enough in my area too, as far as traffic out there. I think the solution isn't to shut the road down, it's to fix the road. So it's safe for everyone. That's happening, it's happening all over Nova Scotia now. There's a gravel road program. We're rehabilitating some of these roads. So if the motion was sort of requesting to bring the road up to standard, so it's safe for everyone, that's something that could be solved quite easily. Because the gravel's right there. But I agree with Councillor Palmer's issue with can't support the motion.
Councillor Wallace.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mary there on the part of people's lives. We heard people talking, they said how many times they're put in the ditch and how many, near accidents and he was even forced it off the road 2 times. Maybe it's if we can't get them to close it, at least if the government would turn around and go and check that section of road out, see that if it's that bad, then by all means, I think it should be, if people's lives are in danger, then there's no question we should stop trucks being on them.
You can see both sides of this, where trucks want to travel the road. This road, it seems, is at such a lower level than some of the other roads. If we wanted, and I think it'd be a bad economic decision for anybody to bring this road up to what Brooklyn Road is, just so the gravel trucks can travel on. I think that'd be a tremendous waste of money. Mr. Rutgers was here. He said, we're not asking them to bring our road up to any standards of these gravel program. We just don't want trucks on them. As long as if we could say to them then, until you get it to that standard, then don't send those trucks on the road. And in terms of Deputy Warden Murray's concern, they were fine with just a few trucks traveling here and there, the local pit or gravel trucks, fixing, putting culverts in and all of that. They're not saying no trucks. They're saying not this many per day of these being a regular route delivering to Family Bush or wherever. So if people aren't agreeable to it closing the road, then close the road to those big belly dump trucks. That huge number until such time as it's brought up to the standard of the Brooklyn one I'm using for example, is that what it could be a Trans-Canada when you're paving it now. But a tremendous cost to bring them up to that standard, and it's the only reason we're bringing them up so big trucks can go through there. But there's a tremendous cost to that because the residents are saying we're okay getting in and out with the road the way it is. We put up with it for a lot of years, never thought it would get fixed anyway. But putting people's lives at risk, then you shouldn't have them there until that road at least is brought up to standard. Anyway, that's not for me.
Yeah. Councillor White.
And I apologize because I'm not very familiar with the road, but how many residents live on that road? You have travel with them.
I may, Mr. Chair, my recollection on last month. There's no one lives on that comment. All the houses are towards the Logan event, and I thought the number he used was around 20.
So could they be using an alternate route or do they have to use that route to get home?
That's their own, that's their own
That's their own
opinion,
way of
having
getting
one end or the other.
Yeah, that's not new.
Okay, I just wondered because I didn't know this. Thank you, but it just, I have a concern with. Look, I'm talking about residents setting all the time here. We get this a lot with gravel pits and the concern with residents with trucks traveling. And, you know, did they try calling the RCMP? Were they there at any time to control some of the dangerous driving on that road? Where people charge?
They call everybody. That's why they ended up here. We're the last call. They dealt with the MLA's office, they dealt with the RCD, they dealt with the clients. You go through the whole circle, then you end up here. So that we're sort of their last stop, and we can't really control them.
But I think at the end of the day, the situation is a provincial situation, and it should be their MLA's to deal with. I really don't think that the council should be making this decision on shutting roads down or shutting down certain trucks. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Councilor McKeel. And we'll close it off.
Okay, thank you. I too see both sides of this, and I agree that it's a very tricky situation. I feel that if I lived on this road and I felt that listening to these residents speak, that, you know, there's been so many tricky situations, I feel for them. And I think it's a nice idea that wouldn't it be nice if we could bring this, you know, support this gravel program and have this road brought up that way. But, okay, but what are we gonna do until then? I do think that we're more of a support situation here. I don't think we're in the business of saying you can't travel this road or not, or this is what we need to do. I think we need to be in support of our residents here and you know, I think if anything that we should be writing a letter and supporting them. Not trying to change the rules or make the rules because it's a provincial road and it's, as you said, Warden, it's not our bailiwick. To address, you know, the point of having that Deputy Warden brought up about having that gravel pit on that road, I really, what I took from that presentation that night is sincerity. They're not trying to, you know, they spoke about having, you know, trucks delivering to them and other residents, and it's not about the day-to-day traffic. It's not about the sometimes, you know, access to pits and such. It's the constant traveling of the heavy-duty trucks on the road and the safety of that. So I think that our motion should have been to support them instead of trying to maybe try to get in some regulation. I think that's where we need to be in writing our letters to our MLAs. Thank you.
Any further?
Read the vote, or can somebody read the vote? Because they didn't suggest separating it.
The Minister of Public Works could have the Glen Road close to heavy truck traffic.
Yeah, not the regulation part of it.
No, just the one part, just the one part.
That'd be a separate motion. And it goes along with Councilor Field said to support the residents that approach closed, but we can't do it.
Okay. Anything else, motion? All those in favor? Okay. Cool. Everyone?
Sorry. Just not quite clear in the motion. They're saying to close the road and to support the residents road. So is it for us writing a letter to support closing the roads, or is it us running the letter to support the efforts that the residents are trying to? I think there's two different issues there. I would put that. I read this to close the truck traffic.
That's what the original motion said, close the road, Glen Road to heavy truck traffic. Didn't say support the residents.
So that's why we're doing it. We wouldn't be talking about it if they just had to be.
But we're writing the letter to the province, asking them to close the road. In support,
It is,
but we didn't say that.
We didn't say that, we want that in support.
You want to put that in?
yeah, that's what I mean, because that's really what it is. They came here and asked us, and that's the only reason we're talking about it.
They're concerned with large contracted trucking. That's the word it said. Everyday trucks coming through there every now and then, or 3 or 4 times in a week or a day. That's not the issue. It's when, well, it's the bigger ones. That's the issue. They were always okay with the smaller dump trucks. That's all that was ever on the road.
Everybody knows what the motion is?
It's Larry. Could you have the motion read, please? I have real difficulty hearing.
Okay,
Write a letter to the Minister of Public Works to have the Glen Road closed to heavy truck traffic in support of the residents.
Thank you.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. How about nay? Nay. The nays, put your hand. 4 nays. Motion carried, motion. Okay, next on the agenda is emergency resolution. Any emergency resolutions? Seeing none? Adjourn the traffic service meeting. Don't define.
All right, everyone, we'll start our financial services agenda. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. First, I'll call for the approval of tonight's agenda.
Peter.
Moved and seconded. Deputy Murray. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll move on to the errors and omissions and corrections of minutes for November 21st, 2022. Any errors, omissions, corrections for the minutes of November 21st, 2022? And I'll ask one more time. Any errors, omissions, corrections of minutes for November 21st, 2022? Seeing none, we'll consider those minutes passed. Moving on to reports. First, we have a recreation report. Okay, moved by Councillor Butler. Seconded by Councillor Wadden. Any questions or comments on the recreation report? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Communications. Okay, moved by Councillor Boyle. Second by Councillor Wadden. Any questions or comments for the communications report for the month of November? Go ahead, Warden, or Warden Becker, sorry.
Sorry. Just under the part that covers highlighted some of our merger reviews. And I'm just impressed that that's the right number of my niece, Delia Parker's at 83,000.
I think she's up to the 9th.
Wow. I just said that blew me away, but I thought, well, maybe it's 8,300 something, and when I also mentioned, George Welch's, work term here, he said 25,000 there at the present time, and, I got to meet George, one day when I was in signing checks, and, really impressed with him, fella, who was, helping us live here, and, we're helping him out, so I'm glad to see that. It's all working out good.
He's done his term now, it's 2 days, a week for 3 weeks, and then he goes back to school and he does another term with somebody else probably, so there's no long break, it's everybody gives.
That too was an impressive number of years, so, thank you.
Thank you, Warden Carver. It's amazing to see the power of social media. Everything can blow up.
You're a partner, you won't.
Yeah.
It's not even 30,000. Flags are 80,000.
Well, be like.
The will be.
Yeah. All right, any other questions or comments concerning the communications report? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the emergency services report. Mover and seconder, please. Councilors? Moved by Councilor Palmer, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any questions or comments on the emergency services report? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the warden's report for the month of November. Gonna move that, okay, been moved. We have a seconder. Seconded, Councilor Elliott, moved by Councilor Dewar. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
This is the wrong report. I don't know if anybody knows that. I didn't notice it was night. I don't know what's in there. I don't read it. I got reading here tonight. It's for the month of October. I thought the stuff sounds like something that I already read in the minutes. So it's not the November report. It's the October report.
So we can have your December report on and or your January report.
Or it can be sent out to people ahead of, but that's not it. That's the October report there. But I would like to make it's not the end of the world. It wasn't it's just a lot of regular meetings, mostly, but I would like to make a comment on our session this morning, our meeting this morning with our MD, John Fraser, and it was certainly all good news for our council and our county. They have 31.7 million to be invested into or to help pay us for the high-speed internet that we've been working on now for 6 years. And we're very fortunate to have, I think it was 7 of us there this morning doing councils, and I realized others because of work and sickness and whatnot couldn't be there, but that was a good turnout. And everything went very smoothly, and so we're well on our way now. That's probably 60% of our cost roughly. I already received 4.4 million before from the bids. So, and like I said there, for the benefit of those who weren't there this morning, it's not just the money. The money goes a long ways, but it's to have the support and the confidence level from a senior level of government. In this case, our federal government has been very supportive, from day one, and did everything they could to try and help us. And there's lots of competition up there, but once you get their support, it means a lot to the people in the public that that you jump through a lot of hoops in order to get their approval, for sure, and a lot of people help to jump through those hoops, but it gives people confidence that we're on the right road. Big concern people have right now is how soon we're gonna get it. I think we're working as quickly as we can toward that. There's holdups that we can't do anything about. The bank readies are the main one because the power people have had to put all their efforts into the cleanup, and therefore our work and many other projects has to get left behind. But we are very close to having all the towers going. What the original 4.4 million was for. I believe most of them will be going by the end of January. Well, a number of them are going now, and more will be going by the end of the month. I think we'll have another 4 or 5 to come on in the new year. That will start servicing a lot of people in the more backcountry area right away. Those are the people that have nothing. And the people that have older systems now with another telco, those will come on over the next 2 years. Longer than what we'd like to be, but it does take time to make these things happen. And this, the other thing I want to mention is a lot of people are very concerned about cell service in all areas of our counties. And again, we're told that as soon as we get fiber to these towers, cell service will greatly improve in all areas. So we're taking their word for that. We, the telcos will want a place to get to. If one goes on and gets much better service, then the others are going to see what's going on and the rest of the customers. So, that I think is really important for our residents to know that we haven't forgotten about the cell service part of it. That will come along, but we have to get fiber to our network. And if there's any other questions I can answer, unfortunately, we don't have the other, and I haven't got it with me tonight, the report for the month of November, but I think we can make sure it's sent out.
Okay, thank you, Warden Parker. Go ahead, Councilor Coyle.
I don't know if it was in the report or not, but board can come up with that idea of going, take the little certificates for the people that did decorations, give them a little thank you. I think it's a great idea. I'm getting great response from them. I thank them for coming up with a great idea.
I do have a copy I'm not being Madam Chair, one of those, and Savannah was good enough to do them up here for us, so they're very, very low cost. We didn't have to dig to a printer or anything, but I just driving up and down the road sometimes, I just think of tremendous amount of work that some people put into their properties, unreal. And a lot of pretty fast too, and you know, everybody driving by remarks on them, rejoices and everything, but the people sitting in the house in Delaware, they don't hear those comments. And so I know it's a matter of judgment and everything, but I just try to look for the places that put that extra effort in and stuff, and everybody, like Peter said, they're well received. People don't do it to be thanked, but they're, you know, they appreciate being thanked at the same time, and you know, I know there's a danger, well, you recognize everybody didn't miss somebody, but I would rather take that chance than not thank them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Deputy Warden Murray?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up on the Warden's report of today's, I'd like to personally thank our CAO staff for all the time and effort they put into this, all the paperwork and hours for this application. If it wasn't for you folks going right and sticking with us and believing in us, we wouldn't have got that through. So, thank you very much. Staff, digital, let everybody say it. And there's that, because the hours, we run on hours. Thank you.
Any other final questions, comments? We'll have a vote. Where's your word?
I guess
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
we're-
yeah.
we're already voted. So they have one that's wrong.
So, next month.
Yeah.
Next month. Okay, next we have accounts paid for November 2022.
So we'll.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Deputy Warden Murray, seconded by Councilor Palmer. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Elliott.
In church, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that the municipality made a donation to the Riverbank Cemetery in honor of my mom's passing. And I wanted to say thanks on behalf of myself and my family to the municipality for that donation. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments on the accounts paid? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, here. Next we have the deed transfer tax fund. Find myself here, find it. Okay, is there any comments or questions? Do you have a comment? Councilor Palmer?
I don't know what happened, but I'd say it's probably the interest rate that's going up. That's why we did it such bad. Because the trend never went to, trend wasn't. Do you think that's part of the interest rate was going up? People are slowing down?
Yeah, I would say, I think it's just the market more so. When you look at that figure, that's it's actually one of the lowest figures that we have seen over the past 5 years, really, in the month as well. So it could just be an anomaly, right? Deals being closed, things like that.
If that's an ops today, they say that the market is still strong.
Yeah, so it's probably a reflection of that. I mean, overall, we're at 968. just for the municipality here. And certainly, that 968 from here actually covers what we project on a yearly basis. Like we project about 840, so the municipality has covered the budget. All the other units have are continuing to contribute as well. And generally, when we look at the numbers, everybody's actually still performing well. Actually, most are ahead of where they were last year at this time. There's only one unit that's not at the same level. So I think I would call it a blip. We'll see what the next couple of months do for us.
Yeah, that's really where we're gonna see it. If this trend continues, or it's just a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Warden Parker.
I think it's beyond that. We're talking that month where everything's gone. Power was off, I think nobody was, they were trying to cut the trees, you can see the houses anymore. I think we'll see it going back up, at what, Aaron is trying to say. But beyond the just stop everything going with tractors, you know, for most of the month of October. You know, power for a week and a half, and then after that, he said trying to get the roads to it.
Any final questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to taxes receivable report, and again, this is for information purposes only. We've collected a total of $707,127.55 this month, and I'll ask our staff again, is this usually where we're at this time of year?
Possibly, we're a little behind so far, but we'll pick up. But this time of year is a little slow, but
Once a year.
once the new year comes, we'll do another rigorous billing, we'll pick it up.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments concerning taxes receivable report? Great. Seeing none, we'll move on. We have the financial assistance requests. This is for District 7. So we have 6 requests from the Gerlach Church for replace hurricane damaged doors in the amount of $3,174. Forest Hill Cemetery amount of $800 for removal of hurricane trees and debris. Laird Cemetery, Pioneer Cemetery amount of $500 to replace sign and maintenance. St. Andrews Cemetery and Annex $2750 for removal of hurricane trees and debris. Hill Cemetery, the amount of $1,000 again for removal of hurricane trees and debris, and Middle River Birch Hill Cemetery, the amount of $3,000 for removal of hurricane trees and debris, in a subtotal of $11,224. Go ahead, Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All of these are hurricane related. And I consider myself, District 7 very fortunate to have some money in there to serve for such an event. And maybe the exception of the first one, most of the work was already done. And these costs are far less than what was expended in many cases. But they're estimating it, but the while we're putting in dozens or even more hours, several volunteers to clean up the cemeteries. So I would move as a block that we approve all 7 of those, all 6 of those.
You have a seconder? Okay, seconded by Deputy Warden Green. Any other questions or comments concerning these requests? Go ahead, Councilor Parker.
I will make it clear that I made it very clear to them. Still, the head gets money expended, they report in by the end of January. Well aware of that. Okay?
All right.
I'll be reminded.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. All right, next we have the community generator program update. This was a sheet that was on your station when you arrived. First, thank you.
So just the kind of the highlights and discussions that And in contact with the province on this program. So there is no set maximum number of generators per area or community that the department is reviewing each application to determine the validity of having a generator in the building that's requesting one. So they didn't specifically allocate a certain amount of money for Pittsburgh County. Wasn't that bad. The department did indicate they may help or ask us for some assistance on background information of where applications may have come from. Under the emergency management provincial rules, generators are recommended by BMO for comfort centers. So their definition says if you're a comfort center, you don't need a generator. It's really what that is, but they leave it to municipalities to determine what would be designated as one. But under this program, comfort centers would be given reconsideration as opposed to facilities that officially designated. Maximum amount that the province would pay is 50,000 towards centers that are deemed eligible. The comment that the gentleman made to that was that I'm completely overwhelmed with the applications that's actually received. It wasn't specific to the 5 or 6 counties that got hit by Fiona. It was planning things, so it's province wide, so it's all 18 counties that were eligible. So we had 12 community following centers that we issued support letters for, saying that could be used as comfort centers. So really, a potential municipal program, the province will pay 80%. So one option would be for the municipality to pay 10% of the generated cost to a maximum of $5,000. So we have 12, so kind of a maximum exposure would be 60,000 under that scenario, assuming they all did a $50,000 expenditure. I'm not sure if that's reality, but municipal. Options to fund it would be $60,000 to the general operating budget in 23-24. We have not received any indication, I guess, from the province on when they intend to make an announcement, whether it's this fiscal year or next fiscal year. Did they announce them?
They didn't announce the exact locations, they announced that they're funding. They doubled the amount of money put into. It's the same announcement as the hybrid power.
Okay. So whether or not those things get actually completed by the end of this fiscal will be. It could be a timing issue. The other thing to do option would be to 60,000 to the general operating budget in this current year. At this point, we don't have a clear, firm understanding that we have a budget capacity to do it within operating budgets, but the option would be that we put it in this year's operating budget, and then at the year end, that if we required money to make up a shortfall, we'll transfer that money in from the operating reserve to cover an option as well. And then the other option would be municipal services grants. But the kind of the issue with that is not all districts have the financial capacity or money to actually fund the projects and things. So those are the options.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Councillor Boyles.
Hillside Hall, we put in for this, and they asked us if we center or whatever, but we're not, until we get a generator, we're not, I mean, we have nothing there, so that's the answer to them. So we're another community that has applied. I'm just waiting for word back down. We got it, or we didn't. We had to get our estimates for what it would cost to do it in the whole 9 yards, so. Just waiting, and the 5,000 would be great. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
So on the application that asked to get this money, you have to have it spent and installed by March 15 this year. That's what the application said. And you can tell you that East River St. Mary's did not apply in this round. They may apply in the future round. And also first it's no student, is that?
They got a letter.
Yeah. But I suspect East River St. Mary's will be in the next fiscal. Next round is the deadline for the next round, I think is February 15th. So,
Okay, Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For Peter's benefit, the Union Center Community Hall wanted to apply. They also are not designated. I asked on Tuesday morning if it would be possible to get such a designation. I headed that afternoon. That's how efficient our staff.
Oh, yeah.
But that was, there were some requests coming in that time. It was had changed the name of the community at the top. But yeah, it has to be done quickly. I have to have some fiscal capacity for the other 15 or 20%. In the case of the Union Center Community Hall, it involves an electrical upgrade. Those property fires. Generator. Yeah. But you can run into money in a hurry. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Boyles.
Just on ours, Parker, we got ours all done. Or if we get it, it's gonna cost us, with the, you get it transferred to wire and up and everything. And for the system itself, with the propane, is 25,000.
Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I'm just not sure about Chair, voting on a number of calls or committee calls, whatnot, have some fire departments to have applied for this provincial money up to 50,000, but maybe less than that, I'm sure. So we're not sure how that's going to play out yet until we until those places hear back. And we're talking about 5,000 per building. You know, that we're gonna give, is that on top of the provincial money? You know, because we give 5,000 to places now and then they get the provincial money. That's our contingent. I'm not sure why we're moving ahead now until we see who gets provincial funding and who doesn't. I'm not sure why we're pushing that at this time. I know Brian was trying to put something forward for us, but is it the right place to spend the money right now until we see? And you mentioned, I think it's somebody else at the second round. Shouldn't we wait until we see how many get provincial funding? And then if they don't get provincial funding, then look at the possibility of giving the 5,000 to the ones that didn't get.
Yeah, so this was really contingent on them receiving provincial funding.
Yeah, and we were giving 5,000 in addition to that?
No, yes, so they would get the provincial funding, which was basically 80%. We would fund it up to 10%, up to a maximum of 5,000. So if you only spent the 20, if your project was 20,000, you would get 2,000 from us.
I thought we were trying to help some of the ones who, not everybody's gonna be approved for it.
yeah.
I thought we were trying to help the 5,000 to be help some of those ones that didn't get approved provincially, but we're putting ours on top of the provincial funding. Okay, this is the way you made it sound there about trying to. I'm just not so sure that's the right thing to be doing, or if we should be giving the 5,000 to those homes who don't get it.
That was the intent that was last month. It's tied to the community.
Or provincial, okay, I'm not agreeing with that, I guess, but I know where you're coming from now. Anyway. I would think the street going forward, those who don't get provincial.
Councillor One?
When I considered trying to do something for these farmers or community centers that applied for funding is because province was going to go with 8%. And I strongly feel these warming centers are our responsibility. They're there for the residents of our area. And the ones that step forward in my area are quite willing to open the doors to be warming centers, but they're drawback of what they generate. We do use the little harbor fire hall as a warming center during most storms, but they don't have a generator either. They have a large one on the van to open the fire hall up. And they step back, they would apply for this because they wanted to let the little harbor community center apply for the grant, because they felt that is really what the warming center should be in our community, to have the kitchen and facilities that can handle being a warming center. My intent was that 20% was a huge amount of money for some of these organizations to come up with. And instead of scrapping our municipal service grant money, I felt that perhaps we could help them come up with their 20%. That would make it much easier for them to be able to get these generators in place of that when the next storm comes. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see more storms, that they would have the facilities in place. They could open doors. So I really like the idea. I mean, 20% is what I was hoping for, but I think I could live at 10% because I think that most of them are putting this in their budgets for their budget planning. But exhibit show that we're willing to help them forward with this project. So I really would like to see us go with option one of the 10% of the generating costs. In the last 5,000. I think that would be good in our part, that we are willing to step up and support your desire to be warming centers for the next storm.
Okay, Councillor David Parker.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We do not have a motion on the floor.
I would move that we proceed with option one. I think we need to proceed with all due haste. This has to happen, as Mr. Thompson said, by the middle of March. And it's not that easy to get contractors to do the electrical upgrade and or the install of the propane generator itself, or the whatever type of generator they're going with, but most of them propane. It's not cheap.
I'll second that.
25,000 per generator. We do an electrical upgrade and then another 5,000 or 8,000 possibly. But anyway, and then there'll be more work beyond that for many of these smaller halls to become fully functioning warming center. But then the big step here first, they're never going to get there. Now, there is going to be a second round of a fire department that should be applying to that second round, because you should know warming center depending on that balance. And there needs to be, they need to be thinking ahead. We were fortunate in one sense with Fiona that it happened when we still very mild. That same type of storm hit us January. Usually some warming centers for, again, some of our more vulnerable people too. Whatever we need. So I'm fully in favor of going. Well, we're only talking about I'll stop there. So around $50,000 max. That's what they all spent, the maximum of $50,000. They're not all going to do that. So I'm very much in favor of the motion. Thank you.
And something else too that has been touched on is that we are really investing in our communities as well. We're prolonging the lives of these halls and, making them kind of future-proofing them a little bit as well. So it's we're really adding to the, to our assets within our communities. Okay, any final questions or comments? Councillor Thompson.
Just, applications I've been involved in my communities. It's gonna be around $3,000 to $3,500 is what you're gonna, which is 10%. So it's, I don't think any of the bills are gonna be $50,000 generator costs. Or, I just want to clarify something. River John, is that the fire department or was that
Legion.
Legion? The library is also on for one.
They didn't get a letter from them. These are just ones that we get a letter to.
Okay.
The other thing is, there is no mention of a second round on this. This program, the deadline was November.
No, I know, I corresponded with somebody.
There is no conversations we've had. So there's a second round coming.
Okay. Great. Okay, so motions on the floor. Ready for a vote? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. All right, moving on to the appointment of Jason LaGreca as fire inspector. Do you want to add anything to that?
I wouldn't add too much other than what I said in that email, which is Jason gained 20 years of experience as a fire investigator in the city of Vancouver. He's put in a full week worth of work so far, and I think he's going to make a great addition to our team here in this town. So I'm excited.
It's nice to hear. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Dewar.
Thank you. Someone for services anywhere else or? What's he cost?
I know his salary is $67,000 a year, but I'm not sure what his total cost would be. Everything else $10.
Okay, any final questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Butler.
I just said maybe just to complete the picture, what were we paying for the hired service in the past?
So Manny Withrow was our contracted fire inspector, and I think he was at a rate of $85 an hour for any correspondence that he did, whether sending an email or a phone call. We also paid him mileage to travel to different areas. Sorry. As well as a retainer. So we're actually mandated to have a fire inspector, and our fire inspector past hadn't been doing so many preventative inspections, and that's what the main role of this inspector is going to be, is for all of our large buildings that require a system of fire inspection. So it's first what we do.
Gordon Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's good news that we have our own fire inspector. We had the firm with there, for quite a while. The other gentleman saying was before the former fire chief maker with the hospital. But no, I think when we need services, we have somebody right here in the building. Our residents are going to get served much quicker, I think. And we know that we have our own person here. I think it's beneficial. My only question is where's his office?
Second floor.
Up here on the second floor beside your. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Parker.
Certainly aware of one particular situation a few years back where the fire inspector made it very, very difficult on committee calls in my district. This person, I don't know Mr. LaGreca, they need to understand that we're often working with groups, committee groups that own buildings that don't have much more of a budget. I think it's me, but we had a couple before that. He understood that. He would work with them various times, try to get some upgrades done. But you just go in and lay the hammer down and say, you gotta have this done by the end of January. just gonna drive these trucks, groups. Their tallest one have you right under. So, Mr. McCracken is under whose supervision? But that's what I thought, that's why I wanted to hear, you to hear that comment. He needs to understand, some cases, you can go right ahead, expect them done within the 30 days or whatever. Other cases, you're gonna have to review him to be aware of that. Thank you.
Any other final comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to community announcements. Oh, we need a motion?
Yes,
No, sorry.
you're going to make the appointment.
Make the appointment, okay, sorry. All right, it's been moved. Seconded. Any final questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Councilor Martin Day. Motion carries. He is appointed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to community announcements. For real this time. Go ahead, Councilor Wyden.
Just wondering what, let everyone know, is going ahead with the community Christmas dinner at St. George's Church again this year on Christmas Day. We're serving dinner from 12 noon to 2 p.m. and people can call me for tickets. And I really encourage you, if you know anyone in your area, who may be alone or just making a deal, get in contact us. Robert Atkinson. Thank you.
That's great work. Great work. Go ahead, Councilor Bliss.
I get the, I don't know, like the announcements or not, but I just wondered, if anyone else did a Christmas greeting from Port Hawkesbury Mayor and Council? And that was very nice of them. I think, it should be recognized that they did send us something should be sent back. But also, the Hillside Home, we were talking about putting in the internet. Somebody asked me to ask from the communities, is halls going to be exempt, or do they have to pay the?
I don't really think that's a community announcement. I think it's something for discussion to have.
It's community announcement. It's run by the community, but whatever.
I think it's something that, I think that's a big discussion to be had. I think that's something that's important.
Well, you just want to go yes or no, that's all.
I don't think there is a yes or no answer yet.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to shut you down. Not that it wasn't important, but I think that that's something we're gonna have a huge discussion.
And I think the framework of it is, if it's a wireless service, it's a yes, with something we can do, but we're not selling the fiber. Right, the third parties are selling fiber, so it would really be on the third party if they want to incur the operating costs on one side and incur revenue back. So if there's a wireless service, that's something within our domains.
Yeah.
So we can put that on the future.
Yeah, and it should be for sure. Go ahead, Councilor Butler.
Yes, Madam Chairman. After a 2 or 3 year interruption, we're going to resume the seniors outreach program in District 1. It's open to all seniors, the age of 65 and over. It's an 8-week program. We'll run for 8 Mondays. It will include roughly from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. It's basically an opportunity for seniors to get out during the winter and just socialize. It includes things like playing cards, bingo, rug hooking, exercise, and then a meal and a guest speaker. So we're looking forward to resuming this program. And I guess I should say thank you to Mary McClellan and the Seniors Outreach Program in the county for helping to sponsor this.
Thank you. Well, great work. Go ahead, Councilor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to, and most people probably know, Christmas came early for District 13 Recreation and Planning Commission, the residents of Pitt East. I was sitting home one Friday night at 7:30, I got a phone call saying that the Crofts going to contribute $370,000 to a new ice plant for the Ogden Golf Water Rink. That was a huge announcement. Place that I've talked to was very excited. And I'm looking at applying for money through the federal government and hoping to receive funding through them. So total project, the plan itself is going to be taken up to 370. But then we also have to pay for removal, install a new plant, there's some miscellaneous expenses there. So we're probably around the 575 mark, so I'm just hoping that the federal government will come on board and support us also, so. I thought support us who haven't heard, so let you know.
Awesome, awesome news. Okay, go ahead, Board of Record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. District 6 also got an early Christmas present today. They're going to arrive this afternoon. Father taking the community over that. They managed to sell their old truck to a private company, so that makes room for the new one. So that was a big deal. Talked to a lot in the community.
Oh, that's great news. Okay, go ahead, Council Palmer.
Board reminded me of something. I just want to give shout out to Thorpe Fire Department for going around Friday evening, Saturday. Drove around the roads and things like that. A lot of people commented how nice that was, so shout out to them.
It's great. It's awesome to see what the fire department's doing with that. Taking Sam around. Go ahead.
Brothers always trying to steal my thunder. Most of that is the West River Fire Department that got the trucks. And biggest fire district 7 is certified with the fire. Much more than District 6. Also, I was involved with an effort last week. We put up 850 turkey dinners at the Northumberland Regional High School. And but really warmed my heart because we had some left over. So I think 15 of them went to Chairman House and 15 of them went to Violas. Some people expecting Christmas dinner. God last week. Thank you.
It's really the reason for the season, is that what they say? Yes. Any other community announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to emergency resolutions.
The word not be entitled to speak for me.
Quicker
on the draw. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. 2022 is coming to a close. Start to leave. We're into 2023 and the new year. And just a reminder, because of the holiday and how things go in the closing of our offices, our next meeting is 4th of that Wednesday, that 4th of January. So don't come Monday, so you won't be here. Don't come Tuesday either. So we'll see you on the 4th. So thank you, everybody. I'll call the meeting adjournment and Merry Christmas to you and families. Happy New Year.